There comes a moment in a man's life when he realizes that the pressure he feels is heavier than ordinary stress. It is deeper than bills, responsibilities, or uncertainty. It feels ancient, almost inherited, as though generations are standing behind him, watching in silence. If you feel this weight, understand this first truth. It is not accidental. You are not simply overwhelmed. You are assigned. Many men believe their financial struggle belongs only to them. They think the sleepless nights, the fear of failing, the constant calculation of survival are personal flaws or unlucky circumstances. But that belief is incomplete. What you carry did not begin with you. You are carrying the unresolved burdens of those who came before you, their missed chances, their unspoken dreams, their silent prayers. And now those unfinished battles have reached you because you are the one capable of ending them. Look carefully at your family history. Patterns repeat themselves with terrifying precision. Fear around money, silence around ambition, survival thinking disguised as humility, generations working hard but never advancing, not because they lacked character, but because they lacked instruction. These patterns are not curses. They are chains made of misunderstanding, and chains always travel until someone strong enough stops them. That someone is you. The reason you feel pressure more intensely than others is because pressure is placed where strength exists. Destiny never assigns heavy responsibility to a weak vessel. The weight always finds the strongest back, even when that back is already tired. Especially when it is tired, because endurance reveals who is chosen long before success appears. Your family may never say it aloud, but they sense it. They see something in you that they do not see in themselves. They notice how your mind stretches beyond survival, how you question what they accepted, how you feel restless inside systems that kept them comfortable but small. Their silence is not doubt. It is expectation. They are depending on you in ways they do not understand how to express. Now imagine the cost of not rising. Imagine another decade passing with nothing changing. Imagine children inheriting the same fears you fight today. Imagine the next generation repeating mistakes they never learned to avoid. Imagine knowing, deep inside, that you lived beneath your potential. That is the real danger, not failure, drifting. Now imagine the opposite path. Imagine choosing to rise despite fear. Imagine becoming the man who changes the atmosphere of his family. Imagine money no longer being a source of anxiety, but a tool for stability, growth, and freedom. Imagine your children growing up without the weight you carried. Imagine them saying, "Everything changed with him." That future does not arrive by accident. It arrives by decision. Understand this: God does not select a man randomly. He selects the man whose mind can be trained, whose desire refuses to die, whose spirit can endure pressure without surrendering. The struggles you face are not punishment. They are preparation. Pressure is not meant to crush a chosen man. It is meant to shape him. For years you may have dismissed your vision as unrealistic. You may have felt guilty for wanting more. You may have feared that success would separate you from those you love. But here is the truth few ever understand. Your rise is not a betrayal of your family. It is their rescue. No one taught your parents the laws of wealth. No one explained definiteness of purpose, organized planning, or disciplined thinking. They survived on instinct, not strategy. Their limitations were not moral failures. They were informational gaps. And now you are the first to question them. That is not coincidence. That is selection. Every man chosen to break a generational pattern begins exactly where you are now, confused, pressured, uncertain, and afraid. Strength does not arrive first. Commitment does. Resources do not arrive first. Decision does. Clarity does not arrive before the calling. It arrives because the calling is accepted. The moment you say, "It ends with me," something shifts. Your posture changes, your voice steadies, your decisions gain weight. Opportunities begin to move toward you instead of past you. Even resistance becomes fuel. This is not arrogance. This is responsibility. You must see the timeline clearly. The past shaped you, the future depends on you, and the present is demanding your response. Worthiness is not required. Willingness is. Readiness is not granted. It is built. Your burden does not disqualify you. It confirms you. You were not chosen because you are the strongest. You were chosen because you were the first willing to listen. This is the beginning. Before a man ever changes his life, he fights a war no one else can see. It does not happen in public. It does not make noise. It happens quietly in the mind, in moments of doubt, hesitation, and internal conflict. This is the battlefield where most futures are decided long before results appear. Your greatest enemy is not the economy. It is not competition. It is not lack of opportunity. Your greatest enemy is a mind that has not been trained to command itself. Most people are not defeated by circumstances. They are defeated by inner dialogue, the constant questioning, the second guessing, the mental negotiation that drains energy before action ever begins. They think ambition is dangerous. They confuse comfort with safety, and slowly they accept limits they were never meant to live under. The mind is powerful, but unmanaged, it becomes destructive. It magnifies fear. It replays past failures. It reminds you of what went wrong instead of what is possible. And if you allow it, it will convince you that your dreams are unrealistic and your efforts unnecessary. This is why discipline of thought is everything. A man who cannot control his thinking will never control his direction. His emotions will decide for him. His moods will lead him, and his life will move according to whatever voice is loudest in his head at the moment. But a man who learns to govern his thoughts gains a rare advantage. He begins to respond instead of react. He chooses instead of drifts. He moves forward even when confidence is absent because decision has replaced emotion. Here is the truth that changes everything. Thoughts repeated become beliefs. Beliefs repeated become identity. Identity dictates behavior. This is why your inner world must change before your outer world ever can. If you believe success is rare, you will hesitate when opportunity appears. If you believe money is dangerous, you will subconsciously repel it. If you believe you are not enough, you will sabotage progress the moment momentum builds. These beliefs did not originate with you. They were inherited, passed down through language, behavior, and example. You absorbed them before you were old enough to question them, and now they operate automatically. But what is learned can be unlearned. This is where most men retreat. They want change without discomfort. They want growth without confrontation, but mental rewiring demands honesty. You must observe your thoughts without attachment. You must question assumptions you have never challenged. You must interrupt patterns that feel familiar but produce pain. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Every time you catch a limiting thought and refuse to obey it, you reclaim authority. Every time you act in spite of fear, you weaken its grip. Fear survives through avoidance. Courage starves it. You do not eliminate fear by waiting for confidence. Confidence is built by action taken while fear is present. That is how strength is forged. That is how identity evolves. Understand this clearly. The mind will resist change even when change is necessary. It prefers familiarity over growth. It prefers known pain over unknown possibility. But you were not created to obey a fearful mind. You were created to train it. This is why visualization matters. This is why repetition matters. This is why environment matters. What you hear daily becomes what you believe. What you believe shapes what you attempt. And what you attempt determines what you achieve. Guard your inputs. Guard your focus. Guard your internal dialogue. You are always listening, even when you think you are not. The moment you stop arguing with fear and start acting with intention, momentum begins to form. Small wins accumulate. Self-trust strengthens. And slowly, the voice of doubt loses authority. This is the turning point. The moment when thought aligns with purpose. The moment when hesitation gives way to direction. The world does not respond to wishful thinking. It responds to decisive minds. And when your mind becomes disciplined, your actions gain power. This is not about positivity. It is about control. You do not need to believe everything will work out. You need to believe you will not quit. That belief alone changes everything. There is a dangerous space between intention and action. This is where dreams decay. This is where motivation dies quietly. This is where most people remain stuck for years, believing they are preparing when they are actually avoiding. Thinking changes nothing unless it leads to movement. A disciplined mind without disciplined action becomes frustration. Knowledge without execution becomes regret. And vision without action becomes a burden because you are constantly reminded of what you are capable of but unwilling to pursue. This is where responsibility begins. Execution is not about intensity, it is about consistency. Anyone can act when inspired. Few can act when bored, tired, uncertain, or unnoticed. But life does not reward bursts of effort. It rewards sustained commitment. The world is shaped by people who move before they feel ready. Most people wait for clarity. They wait for confidence. They wait for perfect conditions. But clarity comes after movement, not before it. Confidence is the result of repeated action, not the requirement, and perfect conditions never arrive. Execution demands that you move while incomplete. This is where discipline becomes visible. Discipline is not harshness. It is alignment between what you say matters and how you behave daily. Every action is a vote for the person you are becoming. Every skipped commitment is a vote for the person you are trying to leave behind. You cannot build a powerful life on inconsistent behavior. Small actions done daily outperform dramatic actions done occasionally. This is the law most people refuse to accept because it removes excuses. You do not need extraordinary talent to win. You need ordinary actions repeated with precision. Wake up when you said you would. Work when you promised yourself you would. Train your mind when comfort asks you to rest. This is how self-respect is built. Every time you keep a promise to yourself, you reinforce trust, and trust in yourself is the foundation of confidence. Without it, you will always hesitate. With it, you will move decisively even when afraid. Execution also requires sacrifice. Not everything can come with you into the future you are building. Old habits must be replaced. Old environments must be outgrown. Old conversations must end. Growth always demands separation. You cannot expect new results while protecting old comforts. Something must be surrendered. Time, convenience, familiarity, approval. These are the currencies of transformation. Many men fail here. They want success without losing anything. They want growth without discomfort. But the law is unbreakable. To rise, you must let go. This does not mean abandoning everyone. It means prioritizing your purpose over your pleasure. It means choosing long-term vision over short-term relief. The moment you commit to daily execution, resistance will increase. Distractions will multiply. Doubt will resurface. This is not a sign to stop. It is confirmation that you are moving forward. Execution attracts opposition because it threatens stagnation. You must learn to act without emotional permission. Some days you will feel strong, many days you will not. Action must happen anyway. Discipline is doing what must be done regardless of mood. This is how momentum forms. Momentum is not explosive, it is quiet, it builds slowly, and then suddenly everything changes. Opportunities begin to appear, results begin to compound, and people begin to ask how you did it. They will call it luck. They will call it timing. They will never see the discipline behind it. That is fine. Your job is not to be understood. Your job is to be effective. Execution turns pressure into progress. It transforms anxiety into movement. It converts potential into reality. Without it, nothing changes. With it, everything becomes possible. This is the bridge. From internal mastery to external results. From intention to outcome. And once this bridge is crossed, there is no return to who you were. Once action becomes consistent, life demands something more advanced. Discipline alone will carry you far, but structure is what carries you forever. Many people confuse effort with progress. They work hard, push themselves, stay busy, and still feel stuck, not because they are lazy, but because their energy is scattered. Discipline without structure is like strength without direction, powerful but inefficient. Structure is how power is organized. A man without structure lives reactively. He responds to whatever appears loudest, most urgent, or most emotional. His days are shaped by interruptions, his weeks disappear into chaos, and his years slip by without measurable progress. But a man with structure lives intentionally. He decides in advance how his time is used. He designs his days instead of reacting to them. He builds systems that support his goals even when motivation fades. This is the difference between people who struggle endlessly and those who compound quietly. Structure removes friction. When your life is structured, you waste less energy deciding what to do next. Your mind is no longer exhausted by constant choices. You already know when you work, when you train, when you learn, and when you rest. Decision fatigue disappears. Focus increases. Output multiplies. This is why successful people appear calm. Their lives are not loud inside. Structure is not rigidity, it is clarity. It does not eliminate freedom, it creates it. Freedom is not doing whatever you want whenever you want. That is chaos. Real freedom is having control over your time, your energy, and your direction. Without structure, even talent decays. Look at your current routine honestly. Your habits are not random. They are perfectly designed to produce your current results. If you want different results, the system must change. This requires maturity. You must stop blaming circumstances and start designing systems. Systems for learning, systems for work, systems for health, systems for recovery. Success is not built by intensity alone. It is built by repeatable processes. This is how dominance is formed. When you create structure, resistance will appear. Old habits will fight for survival. Comfort will argue for exceptions. You must not negotiate. Structure only works when it is enforced. At first, discipline feels heavy, structure feels restrictive, but over time, it becomes effortless. What once required willpower becomes automatic. This is when growth accelerates. Automatic behaviors free mental capacity. Mental capacity fuels creativity. Creativity opens opportunity. Structure also protects you from burnout. When your life has rhythm, effort, and recovery are balanced, you stop sprinting aimlessly and start packing strategically. Longevity replaces urgency. Urgency burns people out. Structure builds empires. This is how men rise above survival mode. Survival mode reacts. Structure creates. Survival mode asks, what do I need right now? Structure asks, what am I building long term? The answer to that question determines everything. Your environment must also be structured. What you see, hear, and consume daily shapes your thinking. Disorder in environment creates disorder in mind. Order outside reinforces order within. Clean your space. Organize your tools. Control your inputs. This is not superficial, it is psychological. Order creates confidence. Confidence reinforces execution. Execution compounds results. Once structure is established, life begins to reward you differently. People trust you more. Opportunities gravitate toward you. Responsibility increases, not because you asked for it, but because structure signals reliability. Reliability is rare, and rarity attracts value. This is the phase where many quit because structure feels boring. There is no adrenaline, no excitement, just repetition, but repetition is where mastery lives. Boredom is the price of excellence. Those who cannot tolerate structure will never sustain success. They may rise quickly, but they will fall just as fast. Those who commit to systems build something that outlives emotion. Structure turns effort into inevitability. And once inevitability forms, dominance is no longer a question of if, only when. Every man who commits to structure eventually meets pressure. Not ordinary pressure. Transformational pressure. This is the stage where most people disappear. Pressure is not chaos, pressure is confirmation. It appears only when progress becomes real. When you move from dreaming to building, life responds with resistance, not to stop you, but to measure you. Pressure exposes truth. It reveals whether your discipline was temporary or rooted, whether your structure was cosmetic or internal, whether your commitment was emotional or absolute. Many mistake pressure as a sign they chose the wrong path. That misunderstanding has ended more destinies than failure ever did. Pressure does not mean stop. Pressure means continue. The greater the future, the greater the resistance. At this stage, results may slow, effort may feel heavier, progress may become invisible. This is intentional. Life removes immediate reward to see who is addicted to outcome versus who is loyal to process. Most people are outcome dependent. They perform only when rewarded. The chosen few are process bound. They move even when nothing moves back. Pressure tests patience. Patience is not waiting. Patience is sustained execution without emotional volatility. It is continuing to show up when excitement is gone. It is remaining consistent when recognition disappears. This is where identity is forged. A man who survives pressure does not just succeed, he changes internally. His nervous system adapts. His mind becomes steady. He no longer panics under delay. He no longer reacts to setbacks emotionally. He operates calmly while others collapse. This calmness is power. Pressure also isolates. People who once supported you may fade. Those who benefited from your old version may resist your growth. Solitude increases. This is not abandonment, it is refinement. Not everyone is allowed into your next level. Pressure removes distractions by force when you refuse to remove them by choice. It strips away comfort until only purpose remains. Many interpret this as loss. In truth, it is focus. Pressure compresses energy. Just as coal becomes diamond only under sustained pressure, men of substance are shaped through prolonged resistance. No shortcuts exist here. Anyone promising ease is selling illusion. This phase demands patience with yourself. You will make mistakes, you will feel doubt, you will question timelines. None of this disqualifies you, quitting does. Persistence is not intensity, it is duration. It is doing the small, unglamorous work long after the novelty fades. It is honoring the process even when progress is invisible. This is where most people negotiate with their standards and lose. Pressure rewards those who refuse to negotiate. Understand this clearly. If pressure feels heavy, it means you are close to something meaningful. Life does not test what it does not value. The people who break here were never weak. They were simply unwilling to endure without reassurance. They needed guarantees, but greatness offers none. Those who persist develop something rare, inner certainty, a knowing that does not depend on evidence, a calm belief anchored in repetition, not emotion. Once this forms, external chaos loses its power. Pressure also trains leadership. A man who has endured silently commands respect without demanding it. His presence carries weight. His words are measured. His actions deliberate. Others begin to sense it. They may not understand your journey, but they feel the stability. This is how leaders emerge, not through titles, but through composure under strain. Pressure also sharpens priorities. You stop wasting energy on meaningless battles. You stop explaining yourself. You conserve focus for what truly matters. Energy becomes sacred. This is the point where many look back and realize the pressure was necessary. Without it, discipline would remain shallow, structure would remain fragile, identity would remain untested. Pressure completes the transformation. If you can endure here, without complaint, without retreat, without drama, life begins to yield differently. Opportunities align quietly, resistance softens, momentum returns stronger than before. But only after patience proves real. This is the dividing line. Those who cross it are no longer chasing success. They are becoming inevitable. There comes a moment, quiet, unmistakable, when life stops testing whether you will quit and begins observing how you will lead. This is the transition few recognize. You no longer feel frantic. You no longer chase validation. You no longer need to announce your intentions. Your discipline has stabilized. Your patience has matured. Your identity is anchored. This is authority. Authority is not volume. It is gravity. It is the natural pull that forms around a man who governs himself. People listen not because you demand attention, but because your presence signals reliability. Authority is earned through consistency under pressure. Now comes stewardship. Stewardship is the final examination. It asks a different question than pressure ever did. Pressure asks, can you endure? Stewardship asks, can you handle influence without corruption? Many survive hardship but fail abundance. Why? Because hardship builds strength, but abundance exposes character. Power magnifies whatever already exists inside a man. If ego leads him, power inflates it. If discipline governs him, power multiplies it. Stewardship requires restraint. You now have options, influence, access, momentum. This is where distraction becomes seductive, comfort whispers, ego negotiates, shortcuts tempt. This is where legacy is decided. A man who reaches this level must remember why he began, not emotionally, but structurally. He must reinforce his systems, protect his standards, and remain a student of improvement. Growth never graduates you from discipline. At this stage, humility becomes strategic. Listening becomes power, silence becomes leverage. You choose long-term respect over short-term applause. This is how dynasties are built. Your responsibility expands beyond yourself. Your decisions now echo outward. People observe you, some imitate you, others depend on you without saying so. This is why consistency matters more than charisma. A steady man creates safety. A predictable man creates trust. A principled man creates followership. Legacy is not built by dramatic moments. It is built by unbroken standards over time. True leaders do not inspire occasionally, they stabilize environments. Stewardship also demands circulation. Resources, time, money, knowledge must move with intention. Hoarding stagnates power, direction multiplies it. You invest in systems, you develop others, you create frameworks that outlast emotion. This is where purpose matures. Purpose is no longer motivation, it is responsibility. You no longer ask, how far can I go? You ask, how many can rise because I stayed consistent? This is the highest form of success. Legacy is not fame, it is continuity. It is knowing that even if your name disappears, your standards remain, your systems function, your influence persists. A man who reaches this stage understands that leadership is lonely by design. Few will understand the weight you carry. Fewer will see the discipline behind your calm. That is acceptable. Legacy builders do not seek to be understood. They seek to be effective. And effectiveness requires emotional neutrality. You do not react, you respond. You do not rush, you execute. You do not boast, you build. This is mastery. From here forward, your life becomes a reference point, not because you are loud, but because you are reliable. People trust what you touch. They follow your lead instinctively. That trust is sacred. Protect it. Guard your habits, preserve your routines, defend your values. These are the pillars holding everything you have built. Remember this final truth. Success is temporary, without stewardship. Influence is fragile without discipline. Legacy is impossible without consistency. You were shaped by pressure so you could handle power. You endured so others could stabilize. You persisted so something permanent could be built through you. This is not the end of the journey. It is the point where the journey begins to matter beyond you. Stay disciplined. Stay structured. Stay grounded. Because now you are no longer becoming. You are responsible.